Okay. Hello, Megan. How are you?
Mira, I'm so excited to see you. I love you.
Me too. I'm always excited to see you. I love you so much. I miss you.
I miss you too. And I just think you're this bright, shining light in the world. So I'm honored to be here with you.
You are too kind, one shining light to another.
Oh,
I had the weirdest experience today. Oh my gosh, I have to tell you. So I was at the mall with my sister and Amani and her dad, and we were like we were shopping for a belly band, actually, something to support my belly because it's so heavy these days. And so I'm in the bathroom waiting for my sister, and she's inside the stalls, and I'm hanging around by the wash basins. And this lady comes out of the bathroom, and she's like, she doesn't know me. I don't know her. She's like, I have to tell you, Jesus is the only way. And I'm like, okay, where is this going? And she's like, Jesus is the only way. You have to just give yourself to him, give your baby to him, give your baby to Jesus right now. And I'm like, I don't know what she means. So I'm like, okay. And then she's like, and then she was, talking. And I was like, where's my sister? She's taking so long because she's getting in my face now. And I don't know what to say because the thing she's saying, it's not conversational. She's just saying one-liner things. And then she walks out and she comes back and she's like, are you having a girl or a boy? And I said, I'm having a girl. And she says, give your girl to me. I will give her to Jesus. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. I love God. I don't know what you mean. I am, I'm not a non-believer, if that's what you mean. Like, I don't know what to say. And then my sister came out of the stalls, and I'm like, wash your hands. We have to go right now. And we did. And I was thinking about that interaction. And I'm wondering, how is it that I love speaking about God all day long? All day long. I love bathing in that energy. But when she approached me, I felt so weird and so creeped out that I just wanted to get away from her. So I was like, what makes that difference? What is that difference, because I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. And I was like, I don't know. Her way to God is perfect the way it is. And I'm like, in that moment, I just felt weird. Maybe it was just her demeanor, her approach. But what do you think?
well, it's interesting that you are sharing this with me because I had a very similar experience of somebody reacting to a retreat on my website. And uh, I thought, or actually, it was on Facebook. And she somehow, I don't know who the person is, and said, how can a person like you do something like this and claim God? You are deceptive. You are this is how did she put it? It was like she was telling me I was people were being deceived by Satan. And like literally I woke up and it had been on my feed for 23 hours, and I went, oh no, 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 no. I don't know who this person is. And I'm like you, I was wondering the same thing. So, like, why is it that my talking about God and heaven um, is an issue? And so I think that's so, like, it's interesting that you and I are both being challenged within, well, actually the same day, because that was yesterday or today.
Yeah, it was today. And I don't
Oh,
I
mine
don't
was
feel
yesterday.
I don't feel like it's that big of a deal. I feel like the timing was interesting and the way it was happening, and because I was so aware in that moment, right? I wasn't freaked out about it. I was just so aware in that moment, and I'm like, what is this? Like, what am I supposed to do here? How am I supposed to react and keep her, like, make her feel comfortable, but also not say things that just because I want to say something back. Like, I would rather not say anything instead of just saying something to say something. And I'm thinking, like, sure, I love Jesus. Jesus is amazing and wonderful, and I learn so much every single day about him and from him. But I don't really want to have this conversation with you in the bathroom of a mall while I'm waiting for my sister to get done using the bathroom. Like it just felt strangely inappropriate in that moment. I don't know. But she came out of her stall and immediately made eye contact with me, and she already started speaking before I even looked away. It was so instant. And I was just off guard, you know? So
Oh,
I
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And the other thing is like, why do these people feel that they have to, with conviction, come at another person? Because this is how I feel about it. It's like they're coming at me, they're coming at you, they're coming at others. And it's great that you are supportive of Jesus and his messages because I adore Jesus. I love him. I met him in heaven. I mean, he's amazing. But to feel as though you can you can project your deepest feelings onto someone else and expect someone else to fall into your way of thinking is I think in the case that you were experiencing is kind of borderline insane to like offer to take your child. No, really. I mean, it's delusional. I really think it is.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think that, look, I think she spoke with conviction. I think all that, and I think these people do. But to offer to take somebody's child,
Yeah, maybe she
that's
was making a joke. I don't know, but she wasn't joking. She wasn't smiling or laughing. She was so
no,
serious. And I was just so shocked. But it's an interesting thing to think about and ponder about and wonder. So how did you react to that lady saying all those things on your feed?
well, what I did because I had reacted to, and I should just say responded to another lady like 2 days before, literally 2 days before. And she said, oh, I'd like to learn more, meaning about my retreat. And I said, okay, or wait, no, it was the first thing that I saw from this woman was never mind. And I was like, I don't recognize the name. I didn't say anything. So I said, oh, I don't understand. Did I miss something? Something along those lines. And then she says, is Jesus Christ your Lord and Savior? This was another woman who came. And so this was 2 days ago. And I said, I work for heaven. That was my response, thinking like it would level it out. And, heaven is like the whole thing, right? I
All
thought I
of
was
it.
good. Yeah, no, that didn't fly. She said, I didn't ask you that. That was her response to me. She said, I didn't ask you that. I'm asking if you know that Lord Jesus is your Savior. And I thought, okay, I'm just not going to respond to that. And then the other woman, because I can't go any more than that. I'm not trying to argue. That's the thing. There is no argument. There is no argument. Either people can um, say, "Oh, Jesus, yeah, great,"
Mm,
and or "Oh, Prophet Muhammad, great," or "Oh, Buddha, great,"
mm.
or all of them. Like me, I believe in all of them now because
Yeah,
of my
me
NDE.
too.
But yeah, and it's like to I don't know. I think what I feel is that the people who are doing this type of thing are missing the point.
Mm,
There's somebody, and I don't know if it was Jesus or if it was Saint Matthew, thou shalt not judge. So to me, when people like this come after people like you and I, or anyone for that matter, it's almost coming from a place of judgment
mm,
that's hidden behind the message of you need Jesus
mm.
and Jesus will save you and this whole thing. And it's like, okay, well, could you just respect where others are at and also respect the fact that this is borderline invasive
Mm,
of my my energy and what I am doing right now. Like you in the bathroom with your sister, it's like, that is weird. But I mean, it happens anywhere. It
Yeah.
does.
You know what I don't appreciate? I don't appreciate people bashing one or another religion or spiritual belief system for another. Like if you are truly a follower of Jesus and you truly understand and know him and his work, then you will not hurt or with your words or any other way another because of their belief system. You should then understand, well, it is acceptable to follow Jesus' teachings as well as other teachings. Like you need to respect someone who follows the teachings of Krishna or someone who follows the teachings of Buddha. Like you said, it's not, it's just like you said, they are using that as kind of like a scapegoat, like I'm going to say this with this umbrella and it's going to be taken as whatever because I'm just using, Jesus as he is right. So I'm going to say what I want to say, whether it hurts you or it doesn't hurt you, whether it offends you or it doesn't offend you, just because I want to say it like this. And that's not okay because there's so many people, all different walks of life, all different perspectives. They're all finding their way. And for you to judge someone because you don't prefer their belief system, that is not okay. It doesn't matter what that belief system may be. So that is basically the theme of what our book is about, saying that all ways are acceptable. And you all know that because you've had an NDE, you've met all of them, you were communing with all of them in heaven. And I say this to you every time I speak to you. There was never a moment of judgment. There was never a moment of one is accepted and another is not. It was all acceptance and all unconditional love. So, like, how is such a beautiful, wonderful message so hard for people to swallow? I don't get it. Why is that such a tough pill to swallow? It's so comforting, you know?
I personally believe that people, not everybody, but there are certain people who um, they have to be right about something. They just have to be right.
They would rather
And
be right than be at peace.
yeah, and they would rather be right than look at themselves and say, why are you so limited in how you believe? Wow, I didn't even think about opening up and learning about other people and their religious beliefs because, well, it doesn't align with mine.
Mm,
But the fact of the matter is that the comfort like these individuals with Jesus are feeling, there are those who have absolute comfort knowing Prophet Muhammad was the prophet, right? And came here, and I'm not Muslim, you would know this, but who came here with messages. And he, if I'm not mistaken, is considered the chosen one. Am I correct in that? Because here he is, and I'm going, well, he is a chosen one to come here and um, and speak to everybody with love and try. But this is what Jesus did too.
yeah, they were
And
all chosen. They were all
that's
chosen
right.
ones.
That's right. And so, they were basically doing the same thing.
Mm,
So, in order to get to a place like that, it's my belief that in order to get to a place like that, you're really standing in a conviction
mm,
of what love is. And you're helping society and communities in the world, because it's trickled out to the world. You're helping everyone learn ways to love.
yeah.
You're giving them instructions, right?
Mm,
So why is it that, the Christians cannot um, respect the Muslims or the Jews or the Buddhists or the Taoists? And rather than look at them as though they're doing something wrong or less than love,
Mm,
right? Remember that Jesus, he was pushed out of his society. He
mm,
was nailed on a cross,
mm,
okay, because he refused to convert.
mm,
He refused to convert to Christianity. I've never said that. And this is the truth. I mean, I saw it. Jesus was always preaching from the Torah. And as a matter of fact, he was not born religious. He
mm,
learned religion because he was 15 and he went to temple, and the rabbi gave him the Torah and said, go read this. And he did 2 or 3 times. And so he started preaching. Love is basically what he was preaching. But he did read the Torah and he did take it seriously. And he was trying to help those who were being rejected from the temples, um, because they didn't have money. And he would go and speak in people's homes.
mm.
And he was crucified for that because
Yeah.
he kept speaking about God, and he kept speaking about the ways to heaven, and he kept speaking about being kind to one another and love. And his both of his lives here, he was murdered for being himself. And what's interesting is he reincarnated, and so the second coming of Christ has already happened.
Mm,
And I saw that in heaven, and I cried. I couldn't believe it because here he was again being himself. And this time he was a Christian, and he was speaking about love and unity and equality as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And what did they do? Murdered him again. They murdered him again. So it's like peace comes up and comes forward, and people have all of these different ways of thinking about what it should be. So what
yeah.
is so it's like, why are people not able to see that your should and my should are two different things, but that's okay. That doesn't make it doesn't make me right. It doesn't make you right. And yet I want to say, well, it does make me right because all I'm shoulding is we should all love. And
Mm,
that is what is required in heaven. Like you have to live in love's laws. You have to
mm,
live in heaven's laws. You have to, you just have to be a part of love and participate in it in heaven. And, you know, back to sitting at the table in heaven in my NDE, not one of them, there were so many, and not one of them ever, um, they never looked at one another like, well, you could have said it better than that. Let me tell her, you know, none of that, none of that.
mm,
And I read something in my book, because I'm putting something together for my retreat, and it was how God said to me, um, what did he say? I don't remember what he said, but my response to him was, well, I already feel like I failed because I messed up on Psalm 91. Archangel Michael had just put Psalm 91 over my soul. And God looks at me and he says, it matters not.
mm,
He says, you're here, aren't you? And so the point was that it didn't matter that and I also hadn't gone to church, and I mentioned that to him, and I know he already knew that, but he said, it doesn't matter.
mm,
You're here in heaven. And it's not the church that brought you in.
mm,
It's not knowing that Psalm 91 that brought you here. You're already love.
mm,
I love you. We all love you. And goddess, it was interesting. I hadn't remembered this specific message. I wish I had it right in front of me because I don't want to botch it up. But she looked at me at one point and she said, Megan, we just oh, she said, you've been wasting your time in fear. You've been living your life in fear up to this point. You're wasting your time and you're wasting the world's time. Like you have to step into your soul purpose. You have to go back and, just be yourself. She says, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to love you. I cannot control what you think and what you do. She said, I can love you through your thoughts. She said, I am not conditioned. Or she says, I am not what you have been conditioned to believe. And I looked at that and I went, okay, this is so powerful. And there's a lot of things that I've forgotten because as all this stuff was coming in, I was writing the book, and this was going on almost, well, it's definitely started 17 years ago because next month in June, or actually, yeah, in a month from now, it'll be 18 years since my NDE. So I'd write things down so I wouldn't forget it. And I knew I had to write a book. But when I read that, I thought, that's a really powerful message for
Mm.
people to understand is that um, they're not going to tell you how to live.
Mm.
They're not going to tell you how to think. That's free will.
Mm.
They are going to help you through it if you ask for help.
Yeah.
And they're not going to judge you based upon what your conditions are.
Yeah.
So, religious conditions is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And that is what unconditional love is. You have the choice. You can choose to do whatever you want, believe whatever you want, all of that, and we will love you anyway. So,
Yes.
and we love you so much, you could even choose to not believe in any of this, and we would still love you, which is kind
Yes.
of your story because you were an atheist when you died. And then you were like, whoa, okay, so I was not condemned. I didn't, they didn't hate me for being an atheist or whatever. And that for me is the coolest thing because atheists, they think they believe in nothing, but really believe in, they like, it's like a religion, atheism. They worship this idea that there isn't anything.
Well, yeah, because you're adamant about the fact that there's nothing, just like the woman is adamant that Jesus is going to save your life, right?
Yeah.
So, like, and I was adamant about no, no, religion, get out, And I was like that for 18 years after having grown up Roman Catholic. So after, I get into heaven and I'm talking to all these souls, it was like, okay, who am I?
Mm.
Who am I? Because I'm not religious. I'm an ex-Catholic. I'm an ex-atheist. I don't even know what to call myself because
Mm.
that's one of the things I talk about in my book as well is like I don't even know what to call myself. And I've come to realize that identifying with something is very important to, I think, most people.
Mm.
And and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It creates safety of the
Yeah.
mind.
And I think
And
that, sorry, I was just to say, and I think that that's why I think religion is to some extent important for some people because they need that. They need that structure. They need that thing to hold on to. They need someone to kind of look up to in that way. And that's fine. It's no problem if that is how, you want to do things. But for me, it's always like with religion, there's the slippery slope if you are not aware, where you can go into this route of, I cannot, like have a direct relationship with God if I don't go through my church or if I don't go through my priest or my this or my that. That is the main thing that I kind of like would stay aware of if I was very much rooted in religion, because that's kind of how I used to feel that I wasn't good enough if I don't do things a certain way, if I don't follow certain rituals, if I don't do certain things certain ways. And I know now that that's nonsense, but it felt very real at the time. And when you are very much wrapped in fear around those ideas, you don't even have the courage to try something else just in case, or just because you want to experience something else, because the fear is so strong and it's saying if you do try something else, you are immediately, going to have some hellish consequences. So nobody wants that. I mean, nobody wants to live with fear, that if they do anything that they're going to have an eternal hell experience or whatever it may be. And I don't know who came up with that thing, but they really did a number. They did a number on humanity with that whole thing. And I don't know if it's a combination of the Abrahamic religions that all came together and said, let's play this huge practical joke on everyone. I don't know what it was, but somehow, somewhere, they made up this idea and this concept of an eternal hell. And it really messed a lot of people up. I was one of them. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I remember hearing that as a child.
yeah.
But I think it was derived from greed and the need to lead and obtain control over masses and threats, and keeping people, it's like they would have to be submissive in their lives because there was going to be an outcome
Mm.
that those people were afraid of. And what I find to be so interesting is that they were basically being told, no, you can't be yourself. You're going to be this way. And if you are not this way, well, then you can't have, salvation. You can't have heaven. You will go to hell. Now, hell exists. Okay. I know it exists. Um, because I didn't believe in heaven either. But they let me know hell is real. Heaven told me. So it's something, we all need to be taking seriously. But the whole fear around um, going to hell. Well, yeah, I would be freaked out if I had to go there, right? I would be freaked out because, I mean, who wants to burn
Mm. But
eternally?
then the question would be then, so how would you end up there? What would a person have to do to end up there? And for me, I don't know. Um, I don't know, but I'm probably thinking you need to be someone who is intentionally like going against who you really are, which is loving and compassionate and kind, because those are natural things. I don't know if obviously you have, but you've seen babies, right? You've seen babies, just babies. They are not in their natural state. So they are just born. Here's a fresh baby. And I've never seen a fresh baby that has tendencies to want to hurt or harm. They are all just loving. And if I imagine if we stay in that state and if we help our babies stay in that state, they will remain in that state and then they will act accordingly. So we need to learn how to remain in that state ourselves or to come back to that state, a lot of us, because we have forgotten over time. But practicing love, acceptance, kindness, non-judgment, like things that are just natural for us to do that feels good. I was saying to Lena the other day, when you feel good, you feel God. So if we can just feel good and do the things that make us feel good, then I don't see a reason why you would end up in hell. Yes, you would make mistakes. Yes, you would do things that you are not perfect. I'm not perfect. No one is. But to the point where you make a mistake and end up in hell forever, like I don't see God ever making a judgment like that on someone and saying, oh, you made this mistake, off you go, goodbye. Like I don't see that happening. If you are truly repentant or you understand the thing and now you are like, willing to make a different choice or whatever, I don't see. And so it's like people, did you like the bad guys who would go to hell, let's say? How did you go from that baby who was so loving to someone who is intentionally evil and mean and vindictive or whatever. How did you get there? What happened to you? Did you forget that you were loved along the way? Like, that's, I just don't understand, you know?
Well, unfortunately, there are children who are not raised with love.
Yeah.
There are children who are, um, well, you were a mistake. That's what I was told. I mean, out of all my, I have three siblings. Out of all of us, my one brother who's now in heaven, he was the only planned child. So we all heard about it. And it's just kind of like, huh, okay. So, but we had this background where um, it was just dysfunction junction. So if we had been raised, um, not even in the church, not even with Hinduism, because our mother went into a Hindu path when I was 11, and I was still going to the Catholic Church. I was being confirmed Catholic,
Mhm.
and it was, it was kind of confusing.
Mhm.
I didn't know who Charan Singh was. I didn't know Paramahansa Yogananda. I mean, I learned about him, then. I'd heard their names, I heard a few stories, but I wasn't practicing to follow that or anything like that. Um, so I think getting back to the child, how do we go from this innocence to a monster like Hitler?
Mhm.
And the answer is that that monster made choices along the way based upon how he was treated as a child. So whether or not he was ignored, whether he was given, let's just say he was spoiled to the nth degree and he was a manipulator and he was never taught that you cannot manipulate people. That is not the way to go. So I'm just using that as an example.
Mhm.
But then he starts doing weird things and he starts seeing what he can get away with.
Mhm.
And then he collects people who are as crazy as he was
Mhm.
and said, yeah, you know what? That sounds great. And then he gets all of these people who clearly don't have love in their life. They don't understand love on any level. So they behaved in the most, uh, it was the most hideous. It was, there are no words to describe the the pain that was caused to not only the Jews, but the entire world
Mhm.
was inflicted with an infection
Mhm.
that was intentional
Yeah.
and based from greed and the need to be in power.
Mhm.
And so there's a whole psychological thing, and I'm not a psychologist, but there's a whole psychological thing that this individual was demanding that he wanted to be. But what's fascinating, and I say this as fascinating, is that he believed it in himself so much that he could make it happen,
Mhm.
that that's where all of his energy went.
Yeah.
But we use him as the example. And for people who want to create love to come about and be the power, well, we've got a lot of work to do
Yeah.
because intimidation and fear tactics are that's what's like controlling the whole world.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, that's what's controlling the world.
Yeah.
And getting back, I just want to answer your question about hell. So I did learn in heaven that there are rules. There are heaven's rules. There's love's laws, God's laws, Holy Spirit laws, and there's all of these different laws that have to be broken before somebody, well, before somebody is eradicated, but before someone goes to hell, a number of laws has to be broken. But I don't remember like how many. And I don't remember if it's all of heaven's laws. I don't remember if it's all of love's laws and heaven's laws.
Mhm.
I don't know. I can't remember that. I don't know how God breaks it down. But no, they really do go somewhere
Mhm.
because what it's my belief now, as a result of my NDE, is that I know so well that the energy that we put out every day of our lives, this is our choice.
Mm,
It's our choice. Why are we not choosing to love everyone?
mm,
Why are we not choosing to teach acceptance is synonymous with love?
mm,
And that's what God said to me. That was the first order he gave me. Teach everybody acceptance is synonymous with love.
mm,
Tell everyone. And I continue to tell everyone because acceptance is also about what is not acceptable. And what is not acceptable means what does not align with love for everyone. That's not acceptable. But it's us who has to create this algorithm of life
mm,
in our world of love is what we must all align to, and we must all help one another and make peace, peaceful living situations,
mm,
peaceful school situations, peaceful governments. We need to make things come to peace now
mm,
and benefit everyone, not just some.
mm,
And we need to step forward and say, no, it's not in alignment with love.
mm,
The old guard, all of that old rules of, historic that they keep this antiquated, weird whatever. I don't know what these people are thinking. Like I can think of one right now who's ruling a lot of stuff here in the United States. And I'm like, how is this okay? How did this become okay?
mm,
It's not okay. You're violating you're violating love. I'll just leave it at that because then it opens up into a whole political thing. But in the same sense, politics,
mm,
you can't weave religion into politics. And if you do, then you have to remember it's about love. Religion is teaching love.
yeah, yeah.
And let's
It
accept
should
all
be.
of them.
It should be. And it got messed up along the way. And
It did.
what I think we all should realize is that there are so many examples of what we should not do. Hitler is one of them. There's so many other examples of what we should not do. And it's like, if we can just remember that, like, we don't have to dwell on it, we don't have to, become fearful about it, but just remember what caused those things in the first place: fear and the separation mindset, and this I'm better than you, and this righteousness thing, like all of that compounded becomes Hitler's and things that we don't want to experience again, and wars and whatever, and there's so many other things we could rather be doing as humans. And it just starts with you. It starts with you as a person. You think that you need to be a whole army to change everything and everyone, but you don't. You just need to be
No,
yourself, and you need to change yourself if you are having tendencies or doing things that you know are not the right thing to do. And by doing that, others will follow. It's not even a thing that needs to be said out loud or talked about. It's an energetic thing, it's a vibrational thing. If you are doing something and it's in alignment, you will automatically affect others, and they will find resonance with their own alignment. It's just like that. And what I realized that while you were speaking, because I'm thinking there's so much nonsense going on in the world, but because I only surround myself with people I love speaking to, like you guys, and I do the work that I'm supposed to do, and I'm surrounded by the things that I makes me me, I shut out all the other things that are not me, and I forget that that is a lot of people's reality. The messed up stuff. And it's like you don't have to live in that world. You don't have to live in that place of hurt and horror and pain and hatred, and you don't have to. You can just choose something else. It's so simple. So yeah, I guess choose choose what you prefer, and then be happy, be happy in your choice. If you don't like the choice, make another one. You are not bound to one decision for the rest of your life. If you choose something and it doesn't work out for you, choose something else and see how that goes. I don't know. I just feel like people are so stuck. They're just stuck in everything. They're just so, I don't know, stuck, I guess. But if I could say, I hope that this book that we're doing, The Ways to God, can at least help people open their minds a little bit to be more accepting or more open to accepting and less judgmental about other people's belief systems. Even if you can just listen without judgment, without, because we're not trying to push any agenda on anyone. We're not trying to convert or convince anyone to believe anything they don't want to. We're just saying that there's a lot that you don't know because you won't give yourself the capacity and the space to even look in that direction. So maybe just peek and see. If you like something else, good for you. If you don't, good for you, you know, but allow yourself at least the freedom of exploration of what else might be out there that isn't filled with horror and hatred and judgment, because it really feels good to feel good. And, when you are constantly being bombarded with messages of hatred and separation, that's all you're going to know. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault. So you can break away from that if you choose to. You can join groups, you can be part of something else, you can do something else, but just allow yourself that. I think that's what I would like people to take away.
And I'd like to add that, prayer is okay. There's a couple things you made me think of. One, there's a saying, God is love. Okay, God is love. It's true. But there are multiple religions and belief systems that believe that. Why not just honor the fact that, like God is love? Okay. And then if you're going to choose something, choose love. Choose to be an example of love in life. And what is the example? Because you lead by example. So whatever your behaviors are, you're going to lead with that,
Yeah.
you know? And the other thing that you made me think of, well, I doubt you've watched Twilight Zone yet, but
I've watched a few. I have.
okay, good for you. Okay, so now you'll understand. So, okay, Earth, we're in a Twilight Zone episode right now. So there's one episode where the aliens come in the episode and they say, "Oh, humans will never learn," because the humans in that episode got wound up with fear
Mm,
and I got it, I got it, and they didn't protect one another. So this is what's happening on Earth. We are in, like, if we want to look at it in a tangible understanding, we're in the Twilight Zone. And the other thing that I will add to that is that if the aliens, which they do exist, but if we look at God and heaven, they're looking at us going, the humans, they're struggling with this love concept.
mm,
How to live in love? They keep they keep turning to fear.
mm,
And so, like Goddess said to me, they can't change our minds. I
mm,
mean, well, they can, because what they do is they just, boom, yank us up into a near-death experience, like myself. They can do things like that, but they're not going to tell you how to think.
mm,
Because even after my NDE, they heaven couldn't tell me how to make choices.
mm,
They just gave me really good information and
mm,
experiences where I knew there's no refuting love.
mm,
So we need to work as a collective and make a choice to serve love. This is my belief. And
mm,
if I'm going to push anything in life, it's not religion, it's to understand what love is. And it's to understand that we are all equal in love. We are all a creation of perfect love,
yeah.
every one of us. And so if you're going to honor anything besides Jesus, in that case, like we were talking earlier, it's like, all right, well, honor everybody.
Mm,
honor everybody as love's perfection, because that's truly what we were born as, getting back to the baby um, symbol earlier,
Yes.
born in just, they're just like this little perfect creation
Mm,
of waiting to learn. And they're learning everything as a baby. They're learning everything.
mm,
They're sponges. And so, what are you feeding your child emotionally? What are you feeding your child psychologically? Feed them love. Let them know that they are perfect just as they are.
mm,
I don't care if they grow up and they're like, Mom, I'm gay.
mm,
Perfect. Okay, that's wonderful. Mom, I'm feeling like, whatever. I mean, just love them,
mm,
guide them, give them information, good information, teach them what you can, and know that someday what you've given them is going to play out in the world.
mm,
Really think about that. What you give them is going to manifest in some way in our world. And it's on them,
mm.
but really it started with you as the parent.
Yeah, it's definitely your responsibility, all of our responsibility. And the more we take that responsibility seriously, the better off we all will be, you know? So I think it's time that we just take the responsibility seriously and stop waiting for someone else to do the thing, you know? You do the thing, you be that person. And I know it's not easy. We've all had to start somewhere. I mean, you literally had to die before you were yourself. You know, I had to have uncomfortable experiences too before I could be myself. Um, but that's just the way it is. You're either gonna be yanked, like you say, or you're just gonna ease into it by yourself, but then just do it. It's like putting your feet in a cold pool. Once you get it over with, it will be done, you know? Yeah. So anyway, the book will be out June 28th in paperback and hardcover, and then the ebook is already out on pre-order. I'll put the link in the description. And yeah, I just look forward to this book coming out. I look forward to all of it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be a part of it and to be a part of the thread, a
Thank you.
continued thread on your part to get love out there
Yeah,
because it's so important. It's
it
just
is.
so important. And acceptance. And I'm excited to read everybody's story because I haven't read them and I don't know what anybody else is saying.
It's so
But
good. It is so good. I've read bits and pieces of everyone else's, not everything. I would just scroll to random pages and start reading, but it is so good. It is so good. It's just so good. You're gonna love it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, me
I'm so
too.
excited. And I met Cynthia Clark, who's in it, and it turns out we live very close to one another.
Yeah, I'm
And
actually meeting with her now. So I'll see her in a minute.
you'll have to tell her hello for me.
I
And
will.
yeah, so she was amazing. Really beautiful
Wow.
soul.
I'm glad. I'm glad you guys got together. I wish I could, see you guys and meet you guys and all that, but like I am so far away and but we will in time.
We will.
Yeah.
And you always have a place to stay here if you ever want
Thank
to
you.
come.
Thank you,
So,
Megan. You're the best.
yeah,
I love you. I'll speak to you soon.
I love you too. Okay.